This is our annual review of the investment policy. The Treasury Department is required to bring you this opportunity at least annually, but it is not precluded for us to bring this back to you at a future time.
Okay.
Okay, that was all I had because I didn't see the other stuff in here. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
I had a quick question.
Okay, Councilmember Barron.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm trying to recall, how often do we get an update by email of the current investment portfolio of the city? Is it once a quarter? And did
Monthly.
Monthly.
monthly?
Yeah, council members, the deputy treasurer on a monthly basis provides the monthly investment report with a detail of our positions to the members of the council and to the members of the Budget and Finance Commission. I would note for transparency's sake that our new website, working very diligently so that for the public, that financial transparency will be available as well. There is a tab that will be present on the website for the public to have that information as well.
Great. And the changes that I presume that are anticipated to be made in the city's portfolio will be reflected in the next month's or the following month's report?
Any changes, any investments, all of our cash on hand in banks and any transactions are part of that monthly investment report. Specifically, I would say that where you would see something like this is we have a variety of different funds that the investment policy enables us to invest in. For example, LAIF, local agency investment funds. The LAIF funds are paying a lower yield with the same type of liquidity that the money market would pay.
Right.
And this gives us an opportunity, whereas with the LAIF, we're able to invest up to $65 million of a $100 million portfolio. We're suggesting that we go to the state maximum for the government money market of 20%, which is paying north of 5%.
And if approved, that is the investment change that you anticipate making?
That's what you would probably see, yes.
Okay. And my question more specifically is, would we see it next month? Would it be another month? Do you have some timing issues? If you could speak to that now.
Once the policy amendment is approved by the council, the request has been put through our legal department. We should be able to implement in short term.
Okay. And I'm not suggesting an investment change. I'm just asking about that. Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
No worries. Anybody else like to speak to this item? Okay. Anybody in the public would like to speak to this item? And on Zoom?
And none on Zoom or e-comments.
Okay, then may I get a motion and a second to approve the city's statement of investment policy?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, 5-0. Thank you both.
Thank you, council members.
Okay, item N2, discussion possible action regarding a mural for the Redondo Beach Pad 10 skate park. There we go. Gary. So I guess camera's not here, so it'll be Gary then? Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Gary will be filling in tonight for Cameron on this presentation. We'll get the PowerPoint booted up. It's a very bright one with the photographs we have. So I'll turn it over to Gary and then finish up with some remarks at the end.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So the item we're considering now is the mural for the Redondo Beach Skate Park. Oh, Gary Margolis, Cultural Arts Manager. So for some background, the LA Kings Foundation donated $25,000 to the Redondo Beach Police Foundation to support the construction of a skate park in Redondo Beach. The skate park was completed without using the donation. The city attorney asked the foundation if the donation could be used for a mural at the skate park. The foundation representatives gave their permission to do so and requested that recognition of their contribution be provided at the appropriate time. The city received 7 mural designs from 3 artists, 1 design from Andy Jenkins, 2 designs from Gustavo Zermenio Jr., and 4 designs from Sei Shimura. On October 25th, the Public Art Commission reviewed the designs and unanimously recommended the design submitted by Andy Jenkins. So now we have some images of the 7 designs. So this is the first design by Gustavo Germenio Jr.
Is that a witch?
No, it's a pirate.
Pirate. Oh.
Piratess.
Piratess.
In front of the women's restroom.
Ah, got it.
And there was a reference to Scarface. One of the designs, I think, from Gustavo.
This is his second design. This is the design by Andy Jenkins. And this is what it looks like, sort of, when it's placed on the wall. This was done by staff, so it's not to scale. And then the first design by Sei Shimura. The second design. The third design. And the fourth design. So the fiscal impact, as you know, as part of your budget process for the current fiscal year, you allocated the amounts that are shown on this slide. They come to a total of $790,000. There's currently $984,426 in the John Parsons Public Art Fund, which leaves a balance of $194,426. The budget for this mural is $75,000, $50,000 coming from the city, which is what you allocated, and then $25,000 from the LA Kings Foundation. Our recommendation is to select and approve a mural design and then direct staff to prepare a contract with the selected artist to complete the mural installation in an amount not to exceed $75,000.
Okay, thank you.
And we have Mr. Jenkins present. We also have Gustavo, or a representative for Gustavo. I don't know if Mr. Shimura is here. The only reason I got involved is in government, sometimes the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. The Kings donated $25,000 to, and that was part of Dave's initial pitch for helping to fund it. And they donated it through the Police Foundation. And the Police Foundation do what they always do, is they donated it to the police department. Police department has no role in the building of a skate park, and Public Works didn't realize that the city, in almost 2 years ago, in January of 2022, received $25,000. And when I got an email about, hey, when are they building the skate parks? And they already had built the one in Perry and were quick closing the other, I noticed that the design from Spawn Ranch had art depicted, but no budget for it. So I talked to the council at budgets, talked to the Kings, they were able to appropriate it. And the artist we have is Mr. Jenkins, who is the artist recommended by Spawn Ranch and by Dave, in that he's very much part of the, skateboard culture. The artist, Gustavo, was recommended by the Kings, because he's done a lot of, I think there's Blue Folder, he's done a lot of high-end work for professional sports teams. And then Mr. Shimura was impressed the Arts Commission in a previous unrelated item. So we went to the Public Arts Commission for recommendation. Their recommendation was Mr. Jenkins. And now it's up to you to choose a design. That was a recommendation only. You get to pick the art concept that you'd like to see. And then we'll work with whoever you choose. We'll work with Public Works to make certain that it's appropriate for a skate park in terms of what surfaces are painted. Is the material durable? Will it have any problem? It will compromise any of the skateboarding. But this is all up to you now, and we look forward to your direction.
Yeah, and just a few last thoughts on that. That as we try to install additional public art in the community, right? Gary has worked hard to work with the Public Art Commission to solicit interested artists for the identified public project sites that were listed there largely under the Johns Parsons Public Art Fund. And the goal typically for us from staff's perspective is to solicit qualified artists and ensure that they're capable from a professional standpoint to actually execute the installation per the ultimate agreement. In this case, all three artists, just so the council is clear, are viewed by our staff as capable and qualified in terms of installing public art in our community at this site or any other. So you won't see from us typically for art projects a strong recommendation from staff unless there are extenuating circumstances. I don't want to be the sole arbiter of art in the community. Gary, although far more talented and capable than many of us in that respect, doesn't want to be the sole arbiter of art in the community. We have a process. The Public Art Commission advises you as a body. Ultimately, it's this group's consensual decision to determine what concepts are ultimately installed and by whom. So that charge is left with you as a collective, and that's what's fun about art. It's in the eye of the beholder. So oftentimes that beholder has different points of view. So in this case, as Gary mentioned, the Public Art Commission unanimously suggested the concept proposed by Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins is a capable artist and certainly can execute what was proposed in that concept design. And we're prepared to ultimately bring back to you a contract with whichever artist you select as this council sees fit.
I have a couple of questions. One is, which surfaces will be painted? Are we only talking about the wall? Or the different
We're talking about the wall, correct, Gary?
ramps or other things?
Well, I mean, the artist is here, so we could actually ask him, but I think your comment, oh, sorry. But City Manager, I think your comment about working with Public Works to ensure that whichever walls and surfaces are selected are appropriate in terms of safety. The Public Art Commission did discuss that a bit when we were contemplating the artwork at the new transit center. Public Works told us that they didn't like the idea of murals on the ground because they could become slippery. And I think the artist agreed with that there wouldn't be paint on the ground. Whether it would be on any of the surfaces that the borders actually use, I think the artist is also has some opinions about that. But let's see what.
The other question I'd have is timeline. Once this is approved, how long do we anticipate it will take to complete?
To negotiate the contract?
Once the contract is negotiated and signed.
Well, I would probably defer to the artist in that
Okay,
respect.
Mr. Jenkins, if you
Yeah.
wouldn't mind, I'd have a few questions for you. Yeah, sure, please. The first question is about, well, why don't we start with duration, how long it'll take once?
I don't see it taking any more than 6 days.
Oh.
I've done a much larger mural in less time.
Okay.
And once I get it drawn on the wall, I have a few assistants too that'll come and help, obviously. And it's mostly fill-ins, because the artwork itself is fairly simple. Really limited color palette, but very bright. Yeah, I think it would take approximately a week, I'd say.
So your inspiration not only was skating, but it was also being next to the ocean with the octopus.
Yeah,
arms.
yeah. The swirls themselves around the skateboarder are abstract wave forms. And then we had the octopus coming in on the left-hand side.
Okay.
And if I can interject,
Sure.
the one requirement, and it was mentioned to all the artists, is that it has to be nautical. It's not further defined because we hold this in trust for the state, and that's a requirement that it be nautical, and that's you saw each of the three artists' vision.
Makes sense, makes sense. And then surfaces, what,
I've had a lot of experience in skateboarding. I've been in the industry myself for over 30 years, and I've done quite a few murals and, lots of, I'm a graphic designer, art director, and a skateboarder. And definitely you do not want any paint on the surface of the skate ramps or the floor, because what tends to happen is the humidity will rest on that and it becomes super slippery.
what about on the sides of ramps or anything?
That doesn't affect it at all, I think, oh, you mean like the transitional side?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, can't do that either, because it's the same problem when guys will go up to hit it for a trick. I mean, they could wind up.
Oh, I meant, so if you've got the ramp.
Yeah.
On the side of the ramp, like.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Is that
I
something
think-
you were thinking about?
Yeah, the idea, I don't, there's more pages to this that kind of show the skate park itself, but there are, nice sides too, as you know, all the ramps and obstacles and stuff.
Right.
And those will have a nice, like, bright color pop on them to kind of reflect the mural's colors.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see there where those are the sides of the ramps there.
Right, the sides.
Yeah.
Exactly. See, anybody have their hand raised? Okay, Councilmember Nierenheim.
Yeah, so I like in the example, page 1182, I don't know if you have it here, you have the orange underneath the ramps.
Yeah,
That's awesome, I like how the ball is colored. When
Yeah.
you need color again, that's fine. The only concern I have is I do like how the other artists, can you go back to the landscape? Sorry.
Pulling up we have access to the other pages that
Okay,
you're
yeah.
referring to.
I do like how the other artists included the men's and women's bathroom.
Yeah.
And in your design, it's actually kind of, the men and women is kind of hidden a little bit.
yes, that was one of my questions was, what are the rules, according to the city council on how the doors are to be handled?
We don't have any rules.
There are no rules.
Okay, so yeah, then I
lawless
would-
in this
I would
state,
paint
in this
straight
city.
over the doors. I would
Well,
show-
actually, we have rules. We just don't enforce them.
We put an
Yeah,
ordinance,
no, yeah, yeah.
an ordinance in place, but that would.
Our
delay
city
things.
attorney is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I imagine the doors being part of the mural, so it
Yeah.
blends in, but also, the plaque to show.
Right. So what I really liked how the other artists had the two genders.
Yeah.
There, male and female, right? Displaying that.
Mhm.
What I have in, oh boy, it's not single use. It's not single use. What I would like to see is something that it's going to be hard. I don't know. You're seeing this on pictures, whatever. It's blending in male, female. Somehow, just some way to make it a little bit easier to see. Because I could very well see people who aren't there at the skate park all the time, who don't know there's bathrooms there. And then the question's going to come back to all the restaurants. Where's the bathroom? Where's the bathroom? Where's the bathroom? Right? And that's going to become an issue. So I see that as
Yeah,
a
that was
potential
one of
issue.
my questions as well, because I wanted to be sure I was following any kind of rules that we would have for that and the visibility rules. So I'm completely open to
Yeah.
modifying the design.
These were more just the artistic image, and then during the scope of taking care of the MOU and working with Public Works, all that will be detailed. So this isn't the final design that you will be getting for approval. This is the image that you want to see.
Yeah, it's basically a comp-up. So, once I get down to actually, building the final artwork, I'll wait for approvals, and I usually go through 2 or 3 versions before we settle on something that everyone likes. So.
Okay. Love the bright colors. Love the simplicity, because you're going to need that. And it's too much detail gets caught up. You can see it from far away.
No mustard yellow like the city logo.
I was going to say put a nice big city logo there, but then I was like, I'm not sure which one. But no, I mean, to that effect though, is I looked at Venice Beach logo, artwork, design, graffiti art, art that they have their murals. It doesn't really reflect that area, which is good. I want us to be able to see this and say, that's Redondo Beach.
Yeah.
And that is important to me, because it's when you see the photo, you're like, that's Redondo Beach, I know where that's at. Whether it includes the name or doesn't include the name, RB, whether it's the vibrancy and the simplicity, it sticks out and says, oh, I know where that's at.
Right.
That's important to me because we're going to get photos of this around the world happening all over the place. And when you have something, this type of color and design, it's going to spread around. People are going to say, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't just blend in. So those are my comments and thoughts, ideas. It's great work.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Jenkins?
Have a hand up?
I don't see anything, actually.
I thought I put my hand
Because
up.
you're not.
I don't think I'm logged in as a, okay.
Am I on?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so my question for Mr. Margolis is, was it a 7-0 commission vote?
It was unanimous, yes.
But I think all 7 council, commission members were there, or 4
I-
council members were there?
No, I think there were 6 commissioners there that day. Were there?
I thought there were
Were there
4.
7? 4?
Yeah, it was a special meeting. So the meeting we had to have to do this, the Zoom wasn't working, and most comments are done by Zoom. So it was a special meeting where all the artists were kind enough to, after being on Zoom and not being able to hear us, to reschedule. And I recall it being barely a quorum. I thought it was 4,
All right,
but that was due to it being a special meeting.
all right, thank you. And Mr. Margolis, do you have a preference among these?
I don't think that's a fair question.
No? As a cultural arts manager, we can't ask you?
No, that's not, I think the city manager made the,
Okay, all right. Well, I'll tell you, my reaction to it at first is, are we going too skatey for the skate park, for the skaters, and not appealing enough to the entire, that whole, people come from across the region to go to Redondo, to the Redondo Beach Fisherman's Wharf, the boardwalk for the seafood and the like, and are we just tailoring this huge piece of art just for the skaters? And are we therefore limiting ourselves and not really taking the opportunity to market this as Redondo Beach as much as we could? To that end, for example, there's whale watching that occurs out of that harbor, not so much octopus viewing. Although I haven't been on the glass bottom boat yet, so I'm not sure if they do. I was concerned with the lifesaver raft because it's, if you could, Mr. Margolis, go back to the slide showing how, the mock-up of how it would go on the wall. I don't think that
how do I get
the actual, like, where you said staff put it on the thing. And I realize this isn't final, but if this were final, right, so if this were final, the north seems like it's pointing to the south, the east is pointing to the west, and the west is pointing to the southeast.
Right, right.
So that's my other kind of problem with.
Certain people are going to orient themselves the wrong way.
Well, I mean, just, it's like
I get what you're saying.
putting up a sign and not, I would like it to incorporate our logo and our eventual logo and font and have Redondo Beach somewhere. So people know where they are, that, hey, they're in Redondo Beach, not South Hermosa or South Manhattan Beach, whatever it may be, North Palos Verde, so.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. And like I said, I'm willing to do comp ups with whatever notes anyone has.
I wouldn't want to overrule a 7-0 art commission, but a 4-0 art commission. Yeah, I mean, I thought something along the lines of say Shimura, Sky Whale, and brighter colors could be cool, but that's just me. So that's it.
Okay, Councilmember Kaljardich.
Yes. Do we have any context of why the Public Art Commission selected this one? Did they have any comment?
The bright colors, if I recall, and please jump in if there's anything else I think it fit well with the skate culture. I think Dave was here and speaking to it fitting to the skate culture. But mostly I remember the bright colors. They were mixed on which they liked, second best. They were kind of split on that. And one commissioner wanted to know if it could be split between two artists. I think it was something like, can the Kings have one wall with their preferred artists since they're paying for a third and the others? But the discussion, I don't know if that would even work, and it didn't go beyond that. But I think that's all I recall.
So the Kings had a
I think the commissioners were impressed with Mr. Jenkins' history of involvement with the skate culture.
And the Kings had a preference for the art that they preferred?
They indicated they will certainly work with Mr. Jenkins. They've worked with Gustavo, who's the other artist on Zoom. They've done a mural in Manhattan Beach that was well received, and so it's just someone that they have worked with and they're comfortable with, although they certainly have talked to Mr. Jenkins and will be willing to work with him.
I don't have any further questions, thank you.
Can I add something? Do you mind?
Sure, go ahead.
I do have plans, if it works out, to bring in a documentary filmmaker and photographer to document the process. I have a lot of people in skateboarding who would be willing to do something like that, which could be very good for short snippets on social media, be interspersed with, the Redondo Beach logo and the skateboarding and the wall. The other thing is like bringing a few pros in to skate and shooting them there would be pretty incredible too. A lot of them really like this park, so.
Great. That's love the publicity. That's terrific.
Yeah.
Councilmember Barrett.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I did have a question for Manager Margolis. Do you have, and you answered a question earlier similar to this, but do you have any concerns about any of these proposals, either based on your deep experience institutionally in the arts field, or with respect to would any of these items potentially impact your and our ability to garner other grants for artwork in Redondo Beach, and any other issues that you're comfortable and hopefully they're there for you to speak to?
I have no concerns about the quality of any of the artists. And I'm confident that any safety concerns. The one thing that was different about this process from a normal public art process is that we didn't require complete proposals in advance. So normally the commission would have an opportunity to examine all of the materials and the methods that each of the artists would use. And especially in, our climate, it's very important that we look at, the quality of the paints and the kind of coating that they're going to use to prevent graffiti and for ultraviolet radiation and things like that. And those would be questions that we would ask in a normal application for the artists to submit in their proposals. Having said that, these are all artists who have worked in this area, in this climate. They're all very experienced, and I don't lack confidence that they all know how to handle those issues. And I am confident that our Public Works Department would be able to review. When we do an agreement with whoever you select, we will require that they submit all of those other things, and they will be attached as an exhibit to the agreement. And Public Works will have we will ask Public Works to, review that. And if they have any concerns, we'll go back to the artist and we'll say, these are our concerns. And we won't bring you an agreement until all of the departments of the city are in agreement that it's going to be a safe and long-lasting mural.
Thank you. In the hopefully unlikely event, there is a problem, would we have the opportunity, and the city manager or city attorney may know, for it to come back to the council and say, we're going to go with Plan B or a different artist?
Sure. If for whatever reason, I would not predict this to occur, negotiations were to break down and we came to a point where we couldn't, as staff, recommend whatever term was being demanded by the selected artist, we would do one of two things. We would either recommend against proceeding and then provide a suggested alternative, or we would come back and air that potential conflict on agreement terms to you and let you make the final decision if it's something that is beyond, is more of a policy discussion as opposed to an administrative matter. But I don't foresee that happening. I'm confident we'll be able to work with whatever artist is selected to bring you an agreement. Now, how quickly that will occur, I don't, while it may only take 6 days to paint, it's going to take, I think, several weeks to probably negotiate terms, get final drawings and designs. I wouldn't expect a contract before this group until at least January. And then from there, I think we would ultimately be able to install fairly quickly. I don't know if there's a season or preference of weather that we would need. Our weather's pretty good all the time. So I'm guessing we're able to install at any time this winter. So we'll do our best to move quickly. We're excited about seeing art installed here. We're excited about seeing art installed on the Public Works yard. That mural's coming back to you in an agreement form here fairly soon. So there's good stuff brewing. But at the end of the day, designs are tough. This is the public art world that we're dabbling into.
All right, thank you.
And you will get it for final approval with the changes made. This is really just picking a vision that you want us to finalize and work with.
Okay, and Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, well, we haven't, and I think you suggested we would we have an opportunity to hear from and speak to the other applicants?
I was going to call on them after you're
Okay,
finished.
who put in the time and the effort to contribute to our community and really be part of it. So yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Great. Before we get to you, Zane, thank you.
I have one more question.
Oh, go ahead, one more question.
My question would be, I see in one of the other murals, there was a nod to the Kings. Would you be open to including something like that?
Yeah, no problem at all. I think in one of my drawings, there's a Kings logo.
Okay.
I'm not sure if
Maybe I
they
missed
want to be
that.
that blatant about it, but
Okay.
yeah, however they would like to see it in the mural, I'm open to it. Yeah.
If you could light up 2B. So Mr. Jenkins, this mural here probably appeals to me a little more, speaks to Redondo Beach, the palm trees, the sunset, whales, or a whale, that
Light up is
2B. Oh, sorry, I didn't plug it. I didn't plug it in, sorry.
That's okay.
It's because you didn't shave.
YouTube is currently not working, but it will work as soon as you're plugged in.
There you go. All right, so given this feedback that we would, at least I would like it to be more welcoming to the non-skate population as well. Certainly have some nods to the skate world, but that is a place of that welcomes a diversity of people from across the land. So how do you think you could revise or reformulate your mural to synergize both the skate culture plus the seafood, sea life, water culture?
Well, I mean, there's a lot we can possibly do. I think, as you mentioned, whales are pretty good and pretty fun to draw. So we could do some kind of thing where it takes the place of the octopus, and then maybe the whale is in an arc, so we can run the logo alongside the arc or something. There's a way to like put in typography that would be, kind of nice. I still really like the bright colors, so
Yeah.
the color palette.
Oh, for sure. I like your colors.
Yeah,
For sure.
it could change. The color palette could change as well, but
Okay.
I don't think it's a problem to work on, making it more Redondo Beach friendly.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thank you, Councilmember Nairn.
Thank you.
Mr. Jenkins.
You don't need to,
Don't leave
you're good, you're good. I don't, my comment is more to the council and public. You're good, thank you, sir. I want to be careful with, quid pro quo, like, hey, they give us money, so let's do this. Just be careful with that because that can get misconstrued. And I like the artist's rendition and the colors and space and design. This is a skate park. I don't want to create a space that can possibly get intermixed with other areas of the harbor. Oh, that could be this part of the harbor. For instance, there was a mural outside the Fun Factory with a clown that was very identifiable and right there. And what I want to be able to see with this artwork, with this color usage, with the design, with the framing is that's the skate park. It's identifiable. And we're not it can't just be used anywhere. And somebody looks at it and says, oh, that's the skate park in Redondo because it's got, this or that, these features and colors and so on and so forth. So
Skate theme.
I love the skate theme. It is a skate park, and the vibrancy and independence of what it is separates us out from the rest of the harbor and the area and the International Boardwalk. That's what I would like to see it and keeping it as, and those are my comments for that.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a fun, cartoonish kind of take on it, and it definitely is identifiable. There's no mistaking that that's the skate park. The other two artists, is Seishimura here? Or online?
I didn't know we were supposed to
Bravo
invite.
on the,
I don't think so.
Or Mr. Zemania?
yes,
Gustavo?
I have him on Zoom.
Okay, Gustavo, hi. Thanks for coming. You want to speak to your design?
Hi, yeah, I'm actually not Gustavo. I'm with Gustavo's management. My name is Dante Perel.
Okay.
But I'm happy to speak on Gustavo's behalf, and I helped him prepare this concept proposal. So yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Gustavo's representative? Councilmember Barrett?
Well, if his representative would like to speak for or advocate on behalf of
Yeah,
Gustavo.
Dante spoke for him at the Public Arts Commission as well.
Okay. So anything you think we should hear succinctly, I think we're all ears, subject to the discretion of our Mayor Pro Tem.
Perfect. Yeah, so Gustavo came up with two designs. As mentioned before, he's worked with the Kings on a few different mural projects. Worked throughout LA on a lot of mural projects. So it does quite a bit of murals year round. We were given the, concept guidelines to create something nautical. So Gustavo wanted to create an underwater scene where, the skateboarders were in an environment that was more immersive. So that's why you see things to scale, from the people by the bathrooms to the treasure chest. He basically just wanted to make an environment throughout. Gustavo's done a lot of floor murals for basketball courts and such. So he was given the parameters to do floor murals throughout the skate park. However, based on the other meeting, I think it's a consensus that floor murals just don't really work in skate parks. So I think all of that could really be omitted or, changed elsewhere throughout the mural, which he's completely open to. But again, yeah, this is just a general concept of an underwater environment. Gustavo's work is very hyper-realistic. So his murals are quite detailed, which is kind of the shock factor when you experience his work on the streets. So yeah, that's kind of all I have for this design.
Okay.
And the second design was more of a, embracing the beautiful sunsets that Southern California is really known for in the Redondo Beach community. He kind of, again, going back to his, photorealistic mural work, he really enhances that. He does a lot of paintings with airbrush that creates these beautiful skies that, we only see in Southern California. So he kind of wanted to bring that into this mural and also really loudly, put Redondo Beach right there, just so that, for all the photos and from afar or from near, it really stands out as, a Redondo Beach mural.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? Okay, Councilmember Rabaji.
Oh, no, I wasn't. I was pointing to the public.
Okay. You have any questions? No? Okay. Anybody in the public would like to comment on this?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, Leslie Campeggi, Redondo Beach. I'm wondering if there's a photo that shows not just where the mural will be, but the other new mural that's just south of that skate park that's on the wall. You know the one that I'm talking about? because that's the broader look that you're going to have, and I think they clash. To your point, Todd, that you liked the one mural, the one where the artist is here, that being cartoonish. I don't have a problem with it being cartoonish, but the other one that's new right there is also cartoonish and some of the same colors, and I think they're going to clash. To your point, Councilmember Obaji, about a sunset, just above where that mural is, you're going to be seeing the sunset every day of the year when there's sun anyway, so we probably don't need to have another picture of it with the sails right above there. But whatever it is that you choose, and I'm not predisposed to any of the designs, but whichever one that you choose, make sure it doesn't clash with the other artwork that is already there. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments in the public? Okay, anybody on Zoom?
None on Zoom. And
Okay,
see.
Councilmember Kalujarovich.
Yeah, I just had one question about the underwater concept. The timing of that, there was a question that we asked of how long it would take the other artists to complete this. Do you have an idea for timing?
Yeah, timing for Gustavo would be 10 to 14 days.
Okay.
we have any comment just for the record.
Okay. Councilmember Obaji, did you have your hand up still?
No.
Okay, Councilmember Nairnheim.
Yeah, I understand the commenter's point regarding clashing, but my question or my point statement earlier was I want to be able to create a different sense of space for that location. So the artwork that you were talking about is down to the south, looking that way, and this one is working to the west. It's when you look, if we had show the, well, I guess I don't know if the overview. Do we have the large overview? So no.
Keep going.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Where the crane is?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's where the crane is, though, right? But this artwork is only going to go to that one location, right? So what I'm saying is, you have that white space in between. You have a breakage between. You're looking this way to see that, and it's completely different than what that other artwork is. I agree with you. I don't think it's clashing per se. Again, to me, it's about if what's this picture is missing is the blue color, I want to say. Hold on, let me look up orange color. So the orange color underneath the slides and the rails, so the concrete, right? So when you look at that, everything's going to work together a lot better, right? You see what I mean?
Ramps.
So the ramps, right? So that sense of space is going to be created with that mural. So that's that's my thought with that, and I'll let the artist do what he needs to do. The only concern really is the bathrooms.
Okay,
Make sure they're
Councilmember
viewable.
Councilmember Barrett?
Well, they are labeled in that image.
They are. I can't really tell.
Okay.
I mean, I know because I'm there. Like, I've used them, but I'm just looking at it now. I'm like, oh, where are the
Can we
bathrooms?
make this larger so I can?
Well, the wall faces to the right, right before you get on the circular. Will those also be painted? Like, there's a wall next to it. I could point to it right.
You know about the ramp, the ADA ramp there?
That's
a good point.
The ADA ramp and all that. Will that?
Come to the mic.
Can you come, excuse me, can you
Okay.
come up here and speak on the mic so we can use, get the minutes for
Yeah,
that?
I wasn't very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. The park itself is, has a round kind of feel to it, and that mural, the walls there kind of, dive down into a really thin triangle.
Yeah.
So the idea was to take that as far as I could around the triangle, and then once we run out of space, which is, it goes down to super small, it will just use the color palette as it is on
Okay.
the
So
floor.
just, yeah.
Yeah, so that was considered.
The only other ask I would have is just for maintenance purposes, get us the color palette
Yeah.
colors so that our public works can find the paint at wherever we need in 5-10 years to repaint the edge striping and the orange down below, because I can tell you right now, that's going to get hammered by those skateboards.
Right.
That's going to get.
One thing, I mean, I'd hate to do this, but I'm fairly well known in the skateboarding community as an artist, and I've had several of these murals up in skate parks that have shown up in millions of video hits, and I think this one's going to be one that they're not going to want to touch as far as.
Not you.
Not you.
Anyway, it's not as likely probably to get graffitied. That's what I'm trying to say, unless you get some outsiders.
You say that now. You know that is the featured space in the OC.
Oh, really?
That is the featured space in the OC.
Yeah. Okay.
Tourists still to this day show up looking for the Octagon.
Yeah.
Those of you that know now, our conversation.
It's gone.
It is very true. No, and then the kitchen at the end of the Mondstadt Pier as well. To this day.
Councilmember Barrett?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Question for Manager Margolis. Do you know if, and maybe the city manager, city attorney knows, do you know if the nautical language was a requirement, a specification, a suggestion? How tightly was that bound up?
Yeah,
with-
just know, while this appears like it's in the titles, this is technically in the uplands. So the nautical suggestion is not a hard and fast rule. It's something that was suggested by.
It was actually,
This came from Charles Edler. He said it was a requirement.
Well, I mean, he might have assumed this was in the tidelands, though. This is in the uplands, but, I mean, ultimately, it's.
You may be right, but it
Yeah.
didn't come
Isn't the
from
cost of
us.
defendant use?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
All right.
I think we might have a little bit of control over what is determined to be nautical here, given its location, but, I mean, I think we can make a good case that this would meet that requirement.
all right.
If skate park in general meets a nautical requirement, I think.
Did you have a question?
I did. And on that note, I don't know if we're going with the Merriam-Webster definition or otherwise nautical of relating to or associated with seamen, navigation, or ships. And I'm just wondering if the artist tailored their work towards that definition and if we're going to drop it off or lighten it.
What's
Go
the
ahead. What?
Iliad?
Wait, apparently they got the compass in there,
Homer?
right?
Yeah.
Homer and the Iliad? Have your thing that goes over the boat?
Yeah.
we have, two of the artists are here, one's here in person and one's, digitally. Maybe we could ask them, what they thought the requirement was in terms of being nautical, because the Cultural Arts Division, did not put out a request for proposal for this mural, and the commission did not approve any language related to a theme, okay? So it was kind of, it came together because the city wanted to do the ribbon cutting ceremony, and they were hoping to have artwork there before that happened, so there was kind of a urgent need to move quickly on this, and that's sort of how it all came together.
Okay.
Which, as you can see, still is
Not very quick.
All right.
So, this was an abbreviated request for proposals. Just bear that in mind as we think about the longer-term public art implications.
Okay. Shea Shimura, not here tonight on Zoom?
No.
Not present in the hall?
invited?
Was he invited?
Yes, I believe the clerk's office sent him the same invitation that Mr. Jenkins got and Gustavo got. I followed up personally with Mr. Jenkins because he was the recommended artist.
All right. Now, I would just ask Madam Clerk, do you know if we heard anything back at all from Shea Shimura?
No.
Okay.
I didn't get anything.
All right. Just my last question. Ernesto Maranje, did he submit anything on this? Was he made aware? I understand.
He wasn't asked to. He had already been selected for the
For the
Public
public,
Works mural.
right.
So the way Mr. Shimura was selected is, we actually had 3 wonderful artists submit proposals for the Public Works mural. And the commission liked all of their designs, and they were going to recommend, say, Shimura's design for the skate park mural before we knew that Spawn Ranch had an artist that they wanted to recommend, and the LA Kings Foundation had an artist that they wanted to recommend. So that's sort of how that all happened. Mr. Maranje had already been selected for the Public Works, and as the city manager mentioned, we'll be bringing an agreement forward hopefully very soon.
That's the whole Sea Life mural with,
Yeah.
And that followed a more traditional procurement process where we really are giving a lot of deference to the selection made by the Public Art Commission. So we're not bringing back all multiple designs that were submitted for the Public Works mural. We're going to try to be more efficient in that process. There was a strong preference for the selected artists, although all were capable again, and we're bringing back a suggested contract with a finished product. This, given the nature of its expediency, its abbreviated version for proposal, and the fact that we had 3 artists that had varying proposals that were all capable and there wasn't a clear selection quite like there was in the other process, we brought you the design for initial blessing.
Thank you. I'll just say, I think all the artists are very capable. My own preference is to go with Mr. Jenkins because of his experience with skate parks, the recommendation of Spawn Ranch, as well as the Art Commission. I think all 3 of those things, and I do like the design. It's kind of fun. I did like the nighttime one from Say Shimura as well too, but being that it is bright colors, it might clash with what we already have in terms of the light turquoise colors, and also it's during the day, and that kind of is a nighttime image. So, Councilmember Obaji.
Sure. So I agree. Ultimately, by the way, I like the green because it matches the handrails down there. So I'll make a motion to move forward with the Jenkins mural with direction to incorporate more Redondo Beach, the uses down there at the boardwalk, and this, the waterfront into the design, and include the logo and the city name. Doesn't need to be gigantic, but just a marker that it's Redondo Beach.
Our selected logo, which
Yeah,
logo?
so we don't have a logo, or do you want?
Are you guys doing this
do you want
very soon?
Yes,
Is that it?
I think before you have a logo, unless you want hot mustard in your skate park, I might
All right, no,
just leave generic.
I thought this, by the time we got an agreement and got a design,
It's
This'll
possible,
be
but probably
quicker
not.
than-
This will
this'll
probably be
quicker than
faster.
The logo.
Sure.
I
Well,
feel- I
did
feel-
did we agree on the font of Redondo Beach?
No.
No.
So, and the logo,
Okay. All right. All
I
right.
feel we'll get this.
Okay,
This
so
will
let's
take
leave that
more
off
time,
and-
but
The clarity on the Kings logo being incorporated into the mural itself would be helpful, because I think that's an important feature. And it is something we do want to recognize the Kings for their contribution to the project. So it would be good to know that that's supported by the council.
they requested some appropriate signage. I would just
Sure.
leave it blank because Mr. Jenkins indicated.
Could we do it on a ramp, like the side of the biggest ramp or such? Put the Kings logo there?
I would just, if you're okay with that, they'll work,
They can
Mr.
figure it
Jenkins
out.
will work with the Kings and come up with,
At the appropriate
2 or
time.
3 appropriate
And
things.
there will also be some kind of a dedication plaque with the artist's name on it somewhere, and city councils, when you dedicate artwork, you're going to have some kind of a,
We will have formal plaque recognition for the contribution as well, but I think the Kings were also interested in some visual display as part of the mural.
actually in the artwork.
Yes.
if I may ask, is this subject to the California Art Preservation Act? Will we have the right to make any modification to it? And who will own the rights to this photo, this image in perpetuity?
The city, the artist, it's an artist license agreement, so the artist will be licensing it to the city. It becomes the property of the city.
All right, with
full control.
With full control, we're talking about maybe adding Redondo Beach or an additional logo later. Perhaps Mr. Jenkins would
We'll
go
put
right
that
ahead.
in there. Are you okay with, if you could just say they never have your if you don't say it right there.
Yeah, that's no problem at all.
Making modifications at the direction
But
of the
that's,
city.
that would be before the agreement is signed. The artist still maintains copyright of the art, and we wouldn't change it after they execute it. But we can request changes before.
Okay. So just two quick questions on that. Are we talking about making potential changes after this goes up, or this is not going up in the next few months? Potential changes, adding a logo, adding a name.
That's going to be incorporated in the final design, working with Mr. Jenkins before we finalize your contract.
All right.
He's going to return with the final
final
vision at the
That incorporates
contract,
that.
and you can make any.
All right. And then on the point that Manager Margolis meant about the copyrights, et cetera, are we going to be able to use this in our brochures to showcase?
Yeah, that's part of the agreement, that we
Alright.
have the right to, visual representations of it, however we want to use it. They'll also sign a waiver of the Artists' Visual Rights Act, which enables us, if we would ever have to deaccession it, we would be able to do that as well.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you. One more comment? Do you want to restate? the-
Question, yeah, I'll restate the motion, but to Councilmember Barron's point, let's say you draw this, we're not finalized, I don't know if you know, but we're in the midst of redesigning a logo for the city.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of gripe about it, so we don't know where we're gonna end up, but let's say you design this and you painted this up, and then we decide, oh, that circle right there would be a perfect spot to put the city logo. Could you subsequently come back and add a logo to a spot that,
If it's
on the mural?
If it's in a place that wouldn't require like a lot of changes, because it's would probably be a little difficult. But if I know kind of where we might want to place it, then I can kind of plan that
Okay,
into the mural itself as
So
well.
my revised motion will be to move forward with Mr. Jenkins, incorporate Redondo Beach, a little more Redondo Beach with the skate theme, specifically the waterfront there and the international boardwalk type uses and amenities or whatever views, things you might catch there. And try to leave a space where a logo could go in the future, please.
And the Kings, you want to include that?
And incorporate the Kings into the design.
That's the motion?
That's the motion.
All right, I second the motion.
Yeah, it's complex. This design is simple. We're adding complexity to it. It screams skateboard park, which it is. I'll make a separate motion to propose letting the artists come up with a final design, incorporating and coming back to us, incorporating the, even though it goes against the asking, I have a donation, and I have a get ask, I'll incorporate the King's request and update for the bathrooms to make sure that the bathrooms are well separated out. And to make it uniquely the skateboard park, so it remains the same, and to come back with us.
I would just
Direction for the sign the contract, execute the contract, or come back with the contract.
Yeah, we'll come back for your consideration of approval with the contract,
more than 6 days before the logo is adopted.
hopefully.
I'll second that motion with the statement that basically I don't want Mr. Jenkins to have to come back in a year or two if we decide. I'm a little leery about that. Plus, I think we can leave some space, but that would be another contract maybe, who knows? We have to close out the contract eventually, right? And then it would have to be another contract, so more or less.
We have a concept. It's good to make some tweaks and make suggestions to the artist. Ultimately, we want to trust the artist to make final design. This is why I sort of said what I said early on.
This is the artist.
We're really selecting the artist, right?
Yeah, if we start micromanaging the design, we get to a point where we're sort of taking away from the artistic talent here. I think thematic changes, as suggestion, makes sense. Do you follow that, Mr. Jenkins? When Mr. Obaji suggests visuals from the, I don't know if that's going to be the carrying motion, but I guess that's not the motion on the floor. But I don't know if I understand exactly how I would interpret that. Themes from the boardwalk or more Redondo-like themes. It's a pretty broad statement.
Well, the first example I gave.
Maybe not the motion.
I appreciate that.
What it's like.
The first example I gave is there's whale watching that occurs coming out of this harbor. There's octopus too down at Quality Seafood. So this is so skateboard centric and kind of minimal on the waterfront that I just wanted something that was more inclusive of what everybody comes to the International Boardwalk for. That's all. And there's a lot of latitude there for the artist, rather than just like a partial octopus.
Is it,
I'm not sure.
can you just amend your motion? He's now heard everything. And it really is an artist you're choosing.
Yeah.
And there's the old joke about a camel is a horse designed by a committee. And so maybe you can just choose, Mr. Jenkins, give direction to staff to negotiate. He'll take everything you said, and then come back with a final proposal and a contract.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's not complicate it.
My concern with Councilmember Narenheim's motion is it seems like he wants the words men and women to be visible from space, because we can see them from right here. And this is seemingly like a drone type, standpoint. And I don't know how much bigger we need to have the terms men and women or gentrification of the bathrooms.
I think we're getting into the details of what it looks like. And I would agree with you that it shouldn't be too big to distract from the rest of it. But I think maybe when Mr. Jenkins brings back the design and we can offer him some input.
Completely open to that.
Yeah.
Well, if we do that, that means we're going to be back talking about the design again, not just approving the contract. Well, we could do that at the same time, but.
Are you saying?
I don't plan.
Well, he's going to revise.
Well, I know, but we're going to have another discussion item on the design.
No, I hope not.
That's what I'm trying to avoid.
It'll be a consent calendar item because the contract's going to be, we have to see it again anyways, right? We
You
have
will
to
see it as an
it'll be
attachment to the
consent
contract.
calendar,
Yeah.
attachment to the contract, and that's all this is end up being.
Okay.
Right.
As long as the direction tonight and the motion is clear on what he's
Yeah, I
being
don't wanna have
suggested to
2 or 3
modify.
meetings on design.
I'm not saying at all what it needs to look like seeing from space. Councilmember Rogers, I 100% agree with you. That's not what I meant, right? I'm just making sure that, because I can see it now. It's hard enough to go down there and see where's the bathrooms. They're so well integrated to the design.
Yeah.
It's perfectly flat, and it's not like they're protruding. It's flat, and seeing that they're like, oh yeah, cool. Well, I know there's bathrooms there, but I actually looked and I'm like, oh wait, where is it? So that's you figure it out. You do your artist work, your magic. That's that's where I keep with it. Nautical theme, it's yours.
Designed by committee.
Yeah. But I would like some peacock feathers for that camel.
Okay, so there's a substitute motion. You want to?
Yes, substitute motion is keeping it.
Is there a second?
I
Yes.
seconded
Oh,
it.
you did. All right.
Can we restate it, because there's a
Two
lot of
more.
overlap here.
Yeah.
What is?
It's real simple. My motion is to approve the artists with the amendment that the Kings have some sort of glory be given, and the bathrooms be ensure that they're somewhat differentiated somehow, and to come back to with a fully executed contract to us at council for the consent calendar. Let you guys figure it out.
Okay, that's the motion. Second. Is that clear?
Got it.
Everybody clear? Okay, there is now, unless anybody else have any comment?
And do they need to specifically say $75,000?
Well, no, we know what the budget is.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
clear on that.
So there's a substitute motion out there right now. There's a substitute motion on the floor. I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Narenheim?
Aye.
Councilmember Karadziorvich?
Aye.
Councilmember Rabachi?
No.
Councilmember Barron?
Aye.
Okay, I myself. Passes 4-1. Thank you.
Yes, my first 4-1.
Okay, on to item N3. This discussion and possible action regarding the implementation of edge line striping as a traffic calming measure, leading pedestrian intervals. as a traffic.
Yes, we have a brief presentation here from Public Works. We see this as a strong recommendation. I think you all will as well.
We've been down this road before.
Yes, we
so to
have.
speak.
And I think it makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate Ted and our engineering team coming up with these suggested changes so we can use these as administrative tools going forward. Ted?
Exactly. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. With me tonight is Ryan Liu, our new transportation engineer, traffic engineer for the most part. Comes in with a lot of great ideas, and this is one of the ways that he's looking to expedite our traffic calming implementation. I won't steal a lot of his thunder, but as Mr. Wodzinski mentioned, these are things that we know we go through a lot with our traffic calming conversations with the community. And we believe this is something that could be implemented in a faster manner because it really does not change or reduce any of the usable lanes in the roadway. So without giving away everything that Ryan's going to say, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him to present it to you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Pro Tem. Ryan Liu, City Traffic Engineer. The item before each night is not art related, it's engineering, so quite the opposite, using the other side of our brain. The first item is edgeline striping. And we get a lot of requests from residents for traffic calming, traffic speeds, traffic safety. And the two most popular tools at our disposal are the stop signs and the speed cushions. And, for whatever reason, sometimes the stop signs aren't feasible or the speed cushions have a very long process or aren't feasible. There's a speed study that has to be performed, 2/3 support. And sometimes the residents' concerns are about a whole corridor and not a single location. So this traffic calming measure, edgeline striping, we've employed this in the city in the past on a case-by-case basis. It installs a white stripe at the edge of the travel lane, does not reduce the number of travel lanes. So in this example on Paulina, it's a 40-foot wide street. There's parking on both sides. The lanes are generally pretty wide, at least 12 feet wide. When we installed an edge line, we narrowed the lanes to 10 feet. And general, research has shown that narrow lanes tends to reduce speeds. And these are pretty low cost, easy implementation traffic calming measures, and about $5,000 to $10,000 per mile. And as I stated, we regularly receive requests for stop signs at a particular location to address speeding along an entire street. And so if we're allowed to implement this administratively, we can take a step back, look at an entire corridor, and implement a traffic calming measure like this where feasible. So in example corridors that we're thinking of are, Ringe Lane. We get a lot of comments about that Ringe Lane doesn't have parking on both sides of the street, even though it's just as wide as the other 28-foot streets in our city. So an edge line in this case could narrow the travel lanes, but it's not wide enough for bike lanes. And Avenue H, we've heard concerns from residents as well. The second safety item is leading pedestrian intervals. So this is actually a signal timing change, and residents and the council may have noticed that Caltrans, which has jurisdiction over PCH, has implemented these at their intersections. So at signalized intersections, if someone presses the button to get the walk signal comes on early before the cars on your parallel light get a green. So that allows the pedestrians to establish themselves in the crosswalk, assert the right-of-way per law, and it increases the yielding compliance for drivers. So Caltrans has adopted this as their standard. They're required to actually put these in on their facilities, and they've put out implementation guidelines for local agencies to use. And if implemented, we plan to follow those guidelines. They're pretty standard industry practice. We're proposing, between a 3 to 7 second head start for the pedestrians. And as you can see in the graphic here, it shows how the pedestrians establish themselves in the crosswalk before the cars get to go. And so these are effective, where we have long crosswalks, where the limit lines for the intersections are set back, where we have a lot of pedestrian volumes, limited visibility, or, a high crash rate between vehicles and pedestrians. And so before you tonight, we have a recommendation to approve, both of these changes so that staff can implement edge lines and/or leading pedestrian intervals on an administrative basis, and to avoid the need to, implement them intersection by intersection or, case-by-case basis. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Could you go back to the slide that talks about the leading pedestrian intervals? Okay, so it says a 3 to 7 second head start for the walk signal before a green light, is that right?
Yes,
so
that's correct.
Explain that to me, how that works.
Yeah, so a good example is actually right at PCH and Diamond, right outside City Hall.
Right.
So if you're, press the button and you're crossing the street, you want to go to Redondo Union High School. So PCH is going, they get green most of the time. Once PCH shuts off and they get the red light, and you've already pressed the button, and there's no left turns from Barrel Street, then the walk sign will go on and everyone else has a red. And so the pedestrian can start walking and enter the crosswalk. And in this case, 4 seconds later, then the traffic on Barrel Street will get the green, and then they will get to go.
So you're changing the synchronization of the traffic signal.
Yes.
To give an extra 3 to 7 seconds, right?
Yeah, it would be taking away a little bit of time from the green for the vehicles.
Yeah, the downside is that vehicles wait a touch longer. So we want to be judicious about this implementation. We don't want to necessarily do it where we have significant traffic concerns or delay just from a volume standpoint, but areas where maybe vehicles aren't necessarily a major concern for throughput, but we do have pedestrian vehicle potential conflicts that we're concerned about.
Is it only when you press the button to cross that it doesn't?
Yes, so there are some intersections where the pedestrian phase does come on every single time, for example, if we don't have a button at all.
Right.
But generally speaking, only when the button is pressed. And
Nothing will make somebody mad or waiting at the light when there's no.
Right. When
yes, that's correct.
It's red everywhere.
Yeah, that wouldn't affect that. And I think if we do implement this, we're thinking about this on a corridor by corridor basis so that we have consistency along the corridor. If someone's walking, along Grant and they experience the leading pedestrian interval at one intersection, they should expect to see a similar type of scheme at the next intersections.
Okay. Thank you.
And I do want to, add that, this does reduce the green time from the vehicles a bit, but you do gain a little bit back when you are separating the vehicle and pedestrian conflicts. So, just because you're taking away the green, you're actually removing that conflict when the car does get to go.
Right.
So you're organizing and separating them out a little bit.
Okay. Councilmember Kalogerovich.
Yes, thank you. And thanks for bringing this to us. I think these are great traffic calming measures. I had a neighbor that was just commenting on the striping that you were proposing and how that made their house a lot safer. They're on 182nd. So she really appreciates that. And then for the, what is it? The leading pedestrian intervals, I think this is awesome for those crosswalk or those intersections where we don't have a crossing guard for kids going to school. This will help significantly as we wait for those crossing guards to be filled. So thank you.
Thank you. We are paving Ringe soon, right? The next year or so? That's on the CIP.
The design, I think, is on the CIP.
Oh, okay. Thought it was budget for some reason. Okay, I was going to say we're going to paint it and then.
Yeah, we'll be careful about where we apply the edge line striping. We don't want to apply it and then tear it up and then have to reapply it. We'll be strategic about it.
Okay.
And as you
But
know,
Ringe, we might, just given circumstances there, we may want to.
Yeah, on the striping by paint, that's something that will fade anyways within a year. It'll need to be reapplied, so that'll work fine if it is approved for Ringe as
And it is
our
cheap.
pilot
It's pretty
location.
cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
And we now
5,000
have
per
some.
mile, that's not even a half a mile.
Right, and we have some skill set to apply the basic paint. It's the thermoplasty is a different application that we would typically do with the roadway improvements.
Okay, great. Councilmember Barrett.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Has this been implemented by Caltrans on PCH between Redondo Union and Aviation? And
Yes.
if so, what has been the effect, the impact on safety, if it's measurable, traffic flow? And that issue was brought up a few meetings ago on PCH, if you're able to comment on either of those.
We haven't looked into any effects of how Caltrans has implemented it, but I do know that they have implemented it pretty much every one of their intersections along PCH.
And Councilmember, what Ryan was also trying to say is the fact that we're leading off with the walk signal, at the tail end of it, the pedestrian signal is not necessarily always as long as the entire green band. or green phase of the operation. So you are going to gain it at the tail end of it from a coordination perspective. You're just letting the pedestrians step out first, be more visible to the driver before they start to make the turn.
Yes.
Yet at the back end of it, because we've given them that amount of time to cross the street, we'll gain it at the tail end of that particular cycle.
You feel confident about that, Director Simon? Yes? Okay. And another related question for either the LPIs or the striping, is there any downside to doing either of those with respect to residents, either traffic flow, anything else that's out there? Because we'd like to know about it, at least I would.
Yeah, for the edge line striping, slower speeds, depending on how you feel about how cars fast should go. But I think generally speaking, slower speeds means less crashes or less severe crashes. So, it could be a downside, lower speeds. And then for leading pedestrian intervals, that minor increase in vehicular delay, but it's, 3 to 4, on the front end of it, 3 to 4 seconds of lost screen time.
All right.
And I would say on the edge striping, we're still going to go through the same process with the residents. We are going to ask their opinion. We're not going to go out there and just apply it without getting their support, because we have heard that in the past.
Will you do that?
Certain residents are accepting of it, other residents are not, and we're not going to impose that on anyone where it is not accepted by that particular block.
So the council members will hear about it as part of the process and be involved.
Yeah, we will go through the inquiry before, but instead of having to go through the commission and the city council before we do the implementation, this will shorten that process if we get the resident support for it.
Thank you. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
You're welcome. Thank you. Councilmember Narenheim.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, I first noticed this actually when I was driving home for council meeting one night, San Pedro. LA City had it. And thank you. I asked you about it actually. And this was a couple of years ago that they started doing this in LA City. They started doing a whole bunch of these types of activities. And at first I was confused by it and a little bit like, hey, what's going on here? And I noticed here in the last few weeks, PCH has it. And the more I've driven in areas that have implemented it, I like it because it adds the pedestrians walking first and foremost. The cars just don't start, there's not this game of boom, right? And that's a factor that, to me, is the biggest factor here for the pedestrian safety. And when it comes to the striping, it doesn't make the streets kind of feel a little bit like a racetrack. It makes them feel cars are comfortable with going faster because the doors aren't supposed to swing open in a certain area and they're only supposed to stay in this area. What happens if somebody gets out of a car? Are we adding any liability issues or assumptions, I should say, not liability, assumptions to that factor? If we have edge line striping, somebody opens a car, gets out, they feel they're safe, and the car is a little bit close to that edge line.
I would look at it I wouldn't see it in that same venue. When Orion showed the picture of the street that had no edge line and it's wide enough, a driver basically sees all that asphalt as their room to drive at whatever speed they need to drive or they feel like they want to drive. The moment you put the edge line, whether there are parked vehicles or no parked vehicles, it's defining that travel path for them. And that narrowing effect is where that driver is supposed to slow down. And that's what we've seen studies show over and over again, that the narrower driving path is for the driver, the slower that they'll drive. So it's really more of a definition for their driving zone. If the street's not wide enough for us to put an edge line and safely have a driver exiting a vehicle in conflict with the vehicle that's entering, we may not be proposing an edge line. So this is not carte blanche implementation of the edge line. This would be on a wider street where you see in the upper image there, you've got parked vehicles. If those parked vehicles were not there, a driver going on Paulina in whichever that direction is in the upward direction could feel like they could speed more because now the street is wide open for them a lot more than it is when it's defined by the edge line.
Yeah, I've driven down Paulina with this after it got installed, and I was had more of a feeling that I felt safer driving faster. just because it gives you the runway space. Oh, this is my place, no one's supposed to be touching it. So I'll leave that as is, but I have one question. You said here in the implementation, $5,000 to $10,000 a mile, but staff report said $3,000 a mile. Why would it be 5,000? Is that the type of paint that's being used? Is that, why is it so much more expensive? Or why is it, I mean, $5,000 doesn't, it seems like, is it a contractor quote? Is it the paint cost, different type of paint? Is it the glass?
It really depends on, this cost estimate came from the IT Journal in 2011, and it's a range. So, costs change, and there's a lot of variables, with the equipment and the geographic setting.
And as we know, we have a striping contract now for citywide. So we have unit prices that are there already in place, and we could apply them. But the variations could come if you didn't have an actual full contract and you want to do a one-off project. If it's 2 blocks that you needed a striping contractor to come in, it is going to cost you more per unit foot, if you will, versus having a citywide contract where you're going to be painting thousands of feet of that same line.
And the painting machine that we have will not be able to do this?
No, because our painting machine is not made for long linear types of striping. That would need a truck where it's a truck-based machine, not necessarily a trailer, or the machine that has the sprayer that we go out by hand and spray with.
Right, got it.
And we're not going to ask you for money for that truck now.
Can we do orange and purple and blue instead? Get some artists to come in here.
I'll talk to the artists and see what we can come up with.
We could put the Kings logo on there too.
King's
like that.
Anything?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Obaji.
Ryan, thank you so much for all your kind of active thinking here in Redondo Beach as you've arrived. Welcome to the city, as far as city council goes. And thank you, I just want to recognize him because he identified a spot along Perry Park on Grant Avenue that was totally red striped, that there was no records of why it was red striped and no parking was allowed. And just suggested to me, hey, should we remove this? And I pulled the residents and they said, yeah, absolutely. So thank you. That's a huge win.
Other staff actually informed me about it as well. I noticed it, but there were other staff who mentioned it to me, and it's like, can we do anything about it? So that's what's set into motion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
And I favor these.
Okay. Anybody in the public would like to speak to this item?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Hadn't really planned on talking about traffic mediation issues. One thing I would like to mention is I think that idea about having the delay timing with pedestrians is a great idea. I live nearby probably one of the most dangerous intersections in Redondo Beach. I'm talking Ruby and PCH and Guadalupe, that little 5-way death trap. That's really dangerous. And today I think I saw 2 or 3 people almost get hit just walking across the street because they didn't have the delay. Now, my understanding is that's controlled by Caltrans, if I'm not mistaken, so I know that you may not have input on it, but if you could maybe urge them to maybe make that change, that'd be great, because it's a real dangerous intersection, as we've seen time and time again. Right, thanks.
Anybody else would like to speak to this item? Anybody on Zoom?
No one on Zoom, but I have one e-comment and supports this item.
Okay, thank you. Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendations, receive and file.
Is there a second? Okay. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0. I was asked by Nikki Negretti Mitchell if we could post this in the library and at City Hall. Flyer if we have access.
Yep. I got a few extra. I put a few out on the public table, so they're there, and we'll get the word out as well through our channels.
Thank you. Okay, city manager items.
Just wanted to let you know, we will be closed for the holiday, as everybody would assume, effective Thursday and Friday of this week. Back next week, we did get a word out on social media. We are going to have some temporarily restricted counter hours, I believe, on the middle of next week, 29th and 30th, if I recall correctly. We're doing some mandatory training as we bring on our online portal for 28th and 29th, Luke, I'm sorry, 28th and 29th, as we bring on our online portal for our building permit process. So we will have a couple of restricted days, but otherwise open normal for business.
Okay, and will we be posting on the website, I don't know if it's already there, the holiday observances in terms of
We will.
lighting?
Yeah,
and
the
menorah
schedule,
lighting?
the tree lighting is scheduled for the first meeting in December. I think the menorah lighting is shortly after that.
So December 5th and
7th,
shortly
I
after.
believe it is, if I remember correctly. We'll have that posted. It'll be in your weekly schedules as well, so you'll have that for edification. And then we'll post our upcoming holiday closure at the tail end of the calendar year as well for the public.
Thank you. Okay, Mayor and council items, council referrals to staff, Councilmember Nierenheim.
Yeah, regarding the tree lighting, the tree's a little, needs some growth, needs some greenery. It needs some arms, some pine needles.
Yeah.
It's
A little thin.
a little thin.
Yeah.
It's on a diet. All right. Let's see here. I was at the Revere bid meeting this morning, and actually, you know, we went over the phone regarding never mind. Other than that, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Kalijevich,
None, thank you.
Councilmember Baji,
None today, thank you.
Councilmember Barrett.
Not tonight.
Wow, none from me, so.
Must be the holidays.
Must be the holiday-itis. Okay, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn to the next council meeting, which will be on Tuesday, December 5th, starting closed session at 4:30 and open session at 6 PM.
Motion
Tree
adjourned.
lighting at 5.
Motion adjourned.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving.